Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Troy Munson at Infinity Whole Health. And please check out our podcast site at Revealing Wholeness. Now, tonight, here you can see the hearts behind me. It's February 10th. It's Heart Month, and we're doing cholesterol tonight. And so, in essence, improving your cholesterol scores naturally. That's what tonight is about. And in order to understand why we would do the things we would do to help cholesterol, I think it is vitally important that we understand what cholesterol does in our body. And so here's a list of little things that cholesterol does, just the tiny things. Cell building, cell flexibility, cell markers, hormones, healing and repairing wounds, brain, nerve conduction in the brain, nerve conduction outside of the brain, vitamin D production, cleaning the blood with bile so that you can lubricate your gut and poop. It also is skin health and skin strength. So let's go through those things just a little bit. So if you're like, that's what cholesterol does? Yeah. So why would they try to vilify cholesterol and say that it's bad? I don't know. I have no idea. But they don't think necessarily about cholesterol very well when they started telling all of us these things that cholesterol is bad. And ultimately, if we think about it, the tests that we see are the scientific papers that we read on trying to reduce cholesterol. What does it do? Well, I'm just reading here that the scientific data out there says, okay, if we reduce cholesterol, we now increase or trade it for things like cancer. We trade it for stroke, for lung disease. We trade it for alcoholism and suicide. So, okay, so maybe we don't want to alter cholesterol. Maybe you're out there and you're thinking, but my cholesterol is still really high. My doctor's freaking me out. Or maybe you've been on cholesterol medication for a long time and you just don't feel good and you're like, this is not an answer for me. I would like to do something naturally. Or maybe you're allergic to cholesterol medication and you realize I've got to do something, but I don't know what else to do. And so if you're anywhere in there, or maybe you got a friend or relative that's got cholesterol issues and they're freaking out, this is maybe a video to point them to say, okay, let's revamp what we think cholesterol really does in the human body. So cholesterol, all of our cells are wrapped in a fatty membrane called our cell membrane. And off that membrane, there's a little, marker that says Troy Munson cell, and if you're out there, it's your cholesterol is now different than mine sticking off all of my cells because it marks your cells as you and not your neighbor or somebody else. So my markers look unique to me. Your markers look unique to you. And so it's important that we have cholesterol because cholesterol is the basis of that. Even just that simple cell communication. Hey, look, don't attack me, immune system. I'm of the system. I'm not harmful. And so the immune systems move on. But if the immune system finds one of your cells in my body, it attacks it because what are you doing? You're not Troy Munson. And so that's part of cholesterol. So cell flexibility, those membranes are actually flexible and movable. And that is cholesterol driven because those are fats. Even though cholesterol is not a fat, it's a sterol, it's a steroid, but it's still integral within fats and the fat system themselves. Now, cell markers we've talked about, but rebuilding and repairing cells is so vital that cholesterol's there because cholesterol is part of at least part of our hormone system. It's not all of our hormones, but a lot of our sex hormones that are integral in repair and replication and doing things like DHEA. We have cholesterol at the top. From cholesterol, we make DHEA. DHEA can split and we can make pregnenolone, progesterone, estrogen, and cortisol. And we're going to make testosterone, estrogen over here from DHEA as well. And so we've got all these hormones that we're using and they're cholesterol based. And we're going to take a cholesterol drug to decrease our sex hormones. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like a real good strategy. And so we'd like to do things a little bit differently. For the brain, our brain is tremendously fat driven and cholesterol is part of that system as well. All of our nerves that conduct the nerve impulse that I can wiggle my fingers, that's cholesterol driven too. The cells are surrounded by a fat membrane that transmit that impulse faster. And so we need cholesterol just to even use our nerves. It's so important. Next is lubricating the gut. One of our favorite things is to get rid of debris out of our body and poop. Well, bile, which emulsifies fats and break them up so we can actually absorb them, along with minerals and a lot of other vitamins, we need bile to do that. And that's what our gallbladder holds. And that's what our gallbladder squeezes into our gut so that when we eat, we can digest those fats as well as lubricate and keep our gut clean so we don't develop cancers and colon cancers and diverticulitis and all kinds of crazy things. So if you think about cholesterol not being important and that you want to be against it with a drug, I hope just the first part of this message or this video turn the tide in your mind and you start to rethink what cholesterol really is doing. And so we've already talked about what if I decrease cholesterol? What does it do for me? Well, we have a lot of diseases that end up taking its place. Now, they've also found that if they reduce cholesterol in the blood, it has very little, if any, effect on heart disease. Doesn't seem to do much. And so I'm going to cover in a follow-up podcast to this video, so please look for it, that talks about what does my lipid panel numbers mean? What should my cholesterol roughly be? What does it mean to go high or low? What is HDL supposed to be? What are triglycerides supposed to be? What are LDLs supposed to be? Now, in those 4 numbers on that lipid panel, there is actually one of those that is a great indicator of heart problems. And so please do log on or listen to that podcast. Find it on Revealing Wholeness later this month of February 2021. And please listen to that because I hope it's a wake-up call to you there. But it's a big topic that I don't want to cover here. So please catch that. So now that we know what it does, what do we do to regulate it or lower it? So cholesterol values that are too low are not good either. And most people, if you ask them on the street, hey, what do you want for your cholesterol number? You might find a fair number of them said 0. Please don't. So we need cholesterol and we need to be in a good range. About 180 to 200 is probably ideal. It means your body's probably functioning pretty well. But as cholesterol goes up, it usually means that I need a bit more hormones. I'm under some stress. I've got some food allergies that I'm trying to handle. And so those are all conditions that cholesterol will elevate. So what then should we do? Well, number one, if we know that stress elevates cholesterol, then we need to do some stress modification. So they studied high stress people like race car drivers. They're driving a car at the edge of the car's ability. They're breakneck speeds. And they're now responsible for not only their vehicle, which becomes a projectile if they don't drive it well, but they've got all these people that they probably know and appreciate and like, their friends, their colleagues, their other race car drivers, that they're running the risk of actually killing them too if they don't do their job and well. And so for 2-3 hours, they're driving and incredible stress and trying to, constantly monitor everything that's happening in the car, outside of the car, everything. And I mean, wouldn't we expect their cholesterol then to be elevated at the end of the race? And that's exactly what they've found, that they're under high amounts of stress and that their cholesterol is elevated for not a day, not a week, but a month after a race. So, wow, okay. So what if inside here, I continuously feel like I'm under stress, like I'm putting way too much on myself. I'm constantly under fear. I constantly feel like I'm being attacked. I feel like I'm running from a tiger all the time. Is that a healthy place to be? And are we going to see low cholesterol values in that kind of a situation? No, why would we? So these are little things when we start realizing that, okay, maybe I just got in a bad accident. Whoa, your cholesterol level's elevated. Well, I'm repairing as fast as I can all these cells that have been damaged in my body from an accident. Oh, well, maybe we'll just wait and see how your cholesterol numbers are in a couple months. Wise move. Let's say they're still elevated. How do you feel? Well, I'm feeling like I've healed pretty good from that. Maybe I have some residual stress that just hasn't lowered yet. Could be. but maybe you have some allergies. Maybe you have other things happening in your body. So beginning to handle some thoughts in here, if you don't have injuries, accidents, and allergies that you're aware of, if your cholesterol is elevated, I'm going to say that you're probably under some stress, or that you're doing damage to cells in a way that we don't know yet, and that's why it's elevating. If your triglycerides are in normal, by the way, and cholesterol is high, I can more so guarantee that you're probably having some allergy issues. And so if you have allergies, do you need to be on a cholesterol medication? It doesn't seem like it. And that's why I want you to point you again to my podcast coming up, because it's going to explain what those numbers are and what values you really need to be paying attention to. So let's say that my numbers are in the 260s, 280s, 300s, 350s. I'm trying to bring cholesterol down. Okay, great. So we've done some stress modification. We've now going to do the biggest thing you can do, and that's blood sugar management. So every time we eat blood sugar and we spike blood sugar, we're going to crash blood sugar with insulin. If you're a diabetic and you're crashing insulin or crashing blood sugar with insulin, you're doing it synthetically. If your blood sugars are not really going that well, your cells may simply be insulin resistant. And now we have issues that the sugar can't even get into the cells. Even though your blood sugar is still elevated, you're still under stress in a different way because of blood sugar mismanagement. So as we manage blood sugar, every time we do this to blood sugar and we crash it with insulin, we have to remobilize blood sugar to bring it back up to normal with a stress hormone called cortisol. Now, first and foremost, I want to tell you, cortisol is not bad. Cortisol is very important to our body, just like cholesterol is. And I know some commercials on the television tend to vilify cortisol as a stress hormone, and this is bad for us. Well, yes, but that should be clues to us that saying, hey, we really need to modify stress inside my mind, but I also need to figure out how to not have stress within my body. And this with blood sugar is very stressful to the human body. Not to your mind so much, but to blood sugar, because spiking blood sugar, crashing blood sugar with insulin, remobilizing cortisol to get blood sugar back up now has something to happen. What happens is our hormone system says, okay, Troy, if you're going to spike blood sugar and you're going to crash it, and it's a famine state now, I feel like we don't have enough food because we crashed blood sugar. I don't want you having any children because you can't even feed you. So I'm going to shortchange and suppress my testosterone production and give all of it over to cortisol production and go up. What does cortisol do? Makes fat on my body, messes up digestion, messes up my brain. I mean, it just does everything we don't want it to do. Makes my arteries constricted, so now I get high blood pressure. Cortisol is not fun. And this is all from blood sugar mismanagement. You mean I'm going to drive down my testosterone if I don't eat right? Absolutely, you are. Is that why I need tea now? I've got low T. Well, yes, but you don't need tea. You need to make tea. In order to make tea, you have to actually start managing stress in your body, not only here, but blood sugar wise here. So we need you to start doing less grains, less sugar. I have written so many podcasts and spoken so many podcasts and videos on blood sugar management. I would hope by now, if you've seen a few of them or listened to a few of my podcasts, you're like, hey, is that blood sugar management kind of important? Yes, it is. Go for it. And so if you have questions about that, please text me or message me. Happy to respond to those things, and we'll talk about it. What's a strategy for you? So I just got done with January. We talked about 4 of my favorite diets. Review those, man. That's awesome material there. It's good stuff. Pick one that feels right to you. Sometimes you'll switch through a couple of them. That's fine. That's called growth, man. Be in your body and be aware of what it needs to do, not just unconscious of what it's doing. So last is better diet all around. As we have a better diet and reduce those carbohydrates and sugar and breads and pastas and crackers and chips, all the fun things in life to eat. I'm not saying you cannot eat those. We want to eat them in a little bit better way. But as we reduce all that stuff, we reduce inflammation in the body. When we reduce inflammation in the body, cells don't swell. That's stressful to cells, by the way, to swell. The more sugar we put in, the more they try to help by trying to get the sugar into the cells, but all they do is end up swelling and dying or bursting. Now we lead to infections. Now it leads to other cell death. It just makes the whole system muddy. And this is not a healthy place to live. And now we have more stress and more cholesterol going up, which we take a drug for because we think a drug is the answer. It isn't. It's called really managing our life really, really well. It's okay to enjoy those foods that you really love. Just don't eat them only every single meal. That's probably not healthy for you. Now, if you don't like feeling good, continue. Then you haven't even listened to this video, hopefully. But if you do want to have at least a little bit more fun and enjoyment and peace and happiness in your life and in your body, you'll start figuring out, how do I do this stress modification? How do I do this blood sugar modification? How do I do a low grain diet that is beneficial for me that I still like having? I will be totally honest. I love Oreos. So I will have an organic Oreo. But because I've managed blood sugar so well, I just need a bite of an Oreo. And that's not a whole Oreo. I will literally break them in half. Sometimes I even quarter them and I eat only a little bit. And you're like, yeah, but you're insane, Troy. Well, no, I've just been doing this long enough. I don't need to have 5 of them. I don't need to have a whole tube of Oreos. And I don't mind the organic ones that are not Oreo brand. They taste really good to me. Find the things that work for you. Give yourself the enjoyment that you want, but let's be moderate about it. What we've always heard. So I hope that kind of brings things around when it comes to cholesterol. Number one, I hope that you are no longer afraid of your cholesterol number. And if somebody tells you you're 260, say, so what? And when you listen to my other podcast that tells you what numbers to actually be careful of, then you're going to say, oh, I just want to know one number. Thank you. Let me know what that is. Don't bother me with this cholesterol crap. Give me my number first that I really need to know. So please stay tuned for that podcast. Next, what I want you to learn about this is that, yes, cholesterol is good. And yes, it is a number on a blood test that we can be aware of. Hey, looks like it's going up. Let's start treating your body a little differently. Let's let your body bring it down naturally. Oh, okay, that we can do. Hey, maybe how I should do that is stress modification and blood sugar management, as well as having a better diet. Yeah, you should do that too. Those things are vitally important when it comes to cholesterol and having your hormones run correctly, your blood sugar run correctly, your body repair correctly, to sleep well, to feel great, to have energy, to be amazing. That's what we're talking about. So next time, in 2 weeks, we're going to do another video, and that's going to be February 24th. And that one's going to be on really little things that you can recognize about your heart and what to do to help your heart, simple things. And so please stay tuned for that one too. If you're actually concerned with your heart and you have some heart things going on that you've got diagnosis for, and maybe you're taking some of these drugs because of arrhythmias and AFibs and all kinds of things, we're going to get into what we can do simply to be helping the heart repair and perhaps making those medications obsolete and unnecessary. So until then, I'm Dr. Troy Munson at Infinity Whole Health. And on one last thing, some of you out there have heard my video on the heart sound recorder where we listen to all 4 valves. And I can literally tell you, how is your heart doing intricately, every valve, how it's doing, and what those valves mean in terms of organ function and nutritional deficiencies as we see things in each one of those valves. And that heart sound recorder is phenomenal. And I did before and afters of people that went through 6 months worth of nutrition, and their heart sound recorder before and afters are incredible, and it's consistent. And so if that's you and you've got some heart problems, you want to know how to do it totally naturally, that's your gig, please call my office, because March 26th, which is a Friday, we're going to have that piece of equipment in the office, and we're going to scan a bunch of people, at least probably 30, 40 people. So how many ever people respond to that, we're going to do it. We're going to stay until we're done and everybody's got the numbers that they want and want to know what they can do about it. So until next time, again, I'm Dr. Troy Munson. Thank you for tuning in, and much love, and I'll see you next time.